The story of Dior is that of Christian Dior. It is also the story of his successors. In their time, their moment, their Dior age. Episode 4. The Dior Age of John Galliano.
Monsieur Dior was a god. I'm learning a lot about him. I hope he would be happy today.
The day was January the 20th, 1997, a major Monday for John Galliano. A party for the House of Dior. The anniversary of the new look. 50 years, a jubilee. The festivities had got underway in early December with the Met Gala in New York. The Metropolitan Museum of Art was celebrating Christian Dior, and out came those astonishing, legendary and unforgettable dresses of the past. At 8:25 p.m, the most anticipated figure of the evening arrived. Dazzling Diana, Princess of Wales, wearing a sensational dress. It was John Galliano's very first creation for Christian Dior. The silken lace fishtail gown had the allure of a negligee and could, on first glance, be mistaken for a very simple slip dress. Yet closer inspection revealed it to be highly intricate, clearly couture, and cut on the bias. Employing the natural stretch of fabric on the diagonal, the bias is a stroke of genius that was perfected by Madeleine Vionnet in her freeing of women's bodies in the 1920s and 30s. And it had become the trademark of John Galliano, who used its supple characteristics to sinuously caress Diana's curves. The British designer could not have hoped for a better inauguration, but the real debut would take place on January the 20th, 1997, the day of his first Dior show. It was only 6 weeks away, and there was so much yet to do. Christmas was definitely cancelled that year. John hadn't exactly been idle since October the 21st, when he had arrived at the house. He spent his first day in the archives, where he studied the earliest collection plans for Spring-Summer 47 and beyond. The story was starting.
Going through the archives was incredibly interesting, because there, through poring over photographs and sketches of his work, I felt I was getting closer to the man himself.
Then, the finished fabric is presented on a real-life model, this time to the boss, whose eye quickly detects the changes that need to be made. Here, a pin restores the balance. There, with a bold hand, Dior opens the bodice to highlight the neckline.
The boss referred to was Monsieur Dior, whose designs John Galliano examined one by one.
Over here, we have the very famous taille bar of 1947. A revolution. The new look. This beautiful jacket, soft draped bosom, tiny, tiny waist, and slightly accentuated hips was all the rage, worn over this full pleated skirt, which caused a scandal.
The elemental bar was an irresistible target for new interpretations. Something bridging past and present. Something surprising, fresh, innovative. A retro new look isn't interesting to me. I would like to do something modern that Monsieur Dior would like. Something informed and clever, especially as he could count on the Dior ateliers to perfectly realize his romantic and narrative vision of fashion. Like Christian Dior, John Galliano prized dreams above all else. Like Monsieur Dior, he believed in the importance of remembrance.
What inspires you?
History, the different facets of women, their personalities, and always the 18th century.
Galliano learned about history in the books and exceptional holdings of the Victoria and Albert Museum while a student at St. Martin's School of Art in London. To finance his studies, he worked at the National Theatre, where he dressed the performers. It was the spark for his taste for theatricality and exuberance. He found inspiration everywhere, enthusiastically mixing everything, crafting and developing unique scenarios, shaping his very own dramaturgy.
The whole collection was about being positive and about technique. I wanted to set the scene by setting Anna Karenina escaping Russia and the wonderful things that she may have left in this world. She meets her prince and she returns to Russia to rewrite history. It's a voyage of self-discovery.
He conjured up princesses, queens and empresses. He had stars, muses and heroines, all wonderful and incredible, whether they were real or imaginary. His stellar 1984 graduation collection was inspired by Les Incroyables, 10 unisex ensembles referencing the French Revolution, with which Galliano achieved an appropriately incredible success. The budding of a fabulous career in London before heading off to conquer Paris, the place to be. He had long dreamed of having his own couture house. That's why he had relocated to Paris, where specialized craftspeople could make his dreams of crinolines and bias-cut dresses come true. He was determined to enter the big leagues, and without a penny to his name, managed to hold his first show at the Cour Carrée du Louvre in March 1990. His talent and ambitions started to pay off. Anna Wintour would provide an invaluable ally. John Galliano embodied a return to pure and unmistakable glamour, in your face and unapologetic. His Spring-Summer 95 collection, which paid tribute to Christian Dior's sharply cut silhouettes, caught the attention of Bernard Arnault, who selected him to succeed Hubert de Givenchy. Monsieur Arnault wishes to see you. At 6 p.m. on a Friday, John Galliano was summoned to Bernard Arnault's office at LVMH headquarters. Galliano thought he was in trouble for doing something wrong at Givenchy. He was also unprepared, with his nails painted a garish shade and flip-flops on his feet. But having no other choice, off he went. And that was when Bernard Arnault offered him the job at Dior. Galliano almost fell off his chair.
It's the house, and I'll have something to wear at last.
The main event of the Spring-Summer 97 Haute Couture presentations took place this afternoon. A bit like in football, in the biggest transfer of the year, the Englishman John Galliano showed his first collection for Christian Dior, and it's breathtaking.
50 looks for 50 major models who slinked and sashayed between past, present and future. John Galliano is inspired by the elegant women of the Belle Époque, the source of the new look, which he combined with references to Africa, the Dinka and Maasai peoples. It was a skillful, spirited and surprising reading of Dior history, penning the first paragraph of a thrilling new chapter.
I'm here to make you dream, darling. That's my job. I'm here to make you dream.
Once upon a time, Mata Hari in the Jardin de Bagatelle, Marchesa Casati at the Opéra Palais Garnier, Pocahontas on the Diorient Express. The stories followed in succession as Galliano went from surprise to surprise, setting a course for unexpected destinations. These creative somersaults were inspired by his own travels, his research trips. From Russia to Mongolia, where he visited museums, theaters and dance schools. From Los Angeles to Mexico, China and Japan, India and Spain. On July 7th, 2003, he presented a collection dedicated entirely to dance. The show kicked off with flamenco, which he had danced as a child on the kitchen table, dressed and cheered on by his mother, Anita. The Gallianos were living in Gibraltar, where Juan Carlos was born in 1960. He became known as John when the family later moved to the South London suburbs where his father, John Joseph, had envisaged a brighter future for his family. Little could he have imagined such a fate for his son. John Galliano was deep into his Dior age when, in 2004, he examined the golden era of Parisian haute couture through the prism of ancient Egypt. His research trip had taken him this time to Cairo, Luxor and Aswan, where the ancient statues resembled Christian Dior vestals, carved in a capital H. Now he fused the H-line of 1954 with the splendor of the pharaohs. Erin O'Connor, clad in gold, opened the show.
3, 2, 1.
With John Galliano, nothing was too beautiful, too big, too crazy. However, extravagance did not preclude reverence for the past or the heritage. Even collections informed by Freud and fetishism, the Matrix, or the homeless were interpreted through silhouettes drawn from the archives. Galliano was having fun using Dior lines and historical designs to push the fashion boundaries. Haute couture was his laboratory of ideas, and in turn invigorated ready-to-wear, accessories and perfumes with its 1001 treasures. The Maasai neckpiece from the first collection, for example, would appear in the imagery promoting the J'adore fragrance for several years.
J'adore. Dior.
It's
old school to just be a designer working in his ivory tower. Today, to be a designer and have the success we have at Dior, you have to get involved in everything, sales, advertising.
By redefining his role as creative director, Galliano reinvented the image of Dior in a luxury world, pursuing a path of becoming ever more democratic.
To provoke, it's not what makes me get out of bed in the morning, but to produce beautiful clothes. And I think just sometimes when something is new, it can be perceived as provocative, but very soon becomes a part of the fashion vocabulary, as you've seen with other things that we have done at Dior. The collection should be talked about. They should. They should make you think.
In his style as in his life, John Galliano was the champion of cultural mixing, blending influences, celebrating difference. The romantic couturier was, however, set to succumb to the influence of his other, more incendiary side. Despite his best efforts, this side emerged publicly one fateful evening, and the damage was done. And with it, the end of the story, the end of an era. It was March the 4th, 2011, and John Galliano would not be present at his final Dior show. He was being treated at a clinic in Arizona. At the end of the show, it was the members of the Dior atelier who took the bow, in their traditional white coats. Who will receive the applause at the next show?
This podcast was brought to you by Maison Dior. Discover the world the house encompasses, from haute couture collections to perfumes, by subscribing to the Dior podcasts, available on all audio streaming platforms.